Hey, let's make a mobility tight, yeah? Two pieces today. We're going to go after a new groin stretch version, something that you can relate to, box squatting. I'm going to give you a good unimpingement stretch with the band into the hip capsule. So we're going to kind of hit both sides of the joint. And then I'm going to add a new ball torture, and we're going to have to really torture ourselves into internal rotation. So here's what we're going to start with. Homework number one today is practicing getting into a good box squat position. What you're going to find is that we see athletes in the bottom position always looking for torque. And when we can't descend with enough external rotation in the bottom, then one of the things that you look for is that the knee will come in. That's one way to create torque, internally rotating. That's the equivalent of the shoulder coming forward looking for stability if I can't keep it tight. So we want to be able to externally rotate, and one of the big pieces that limits that is my capacity to maintain a good foot position, a straight-ish foot position, which allows me to generate torque. What you'll find is that if I keep my feet out, belly tight, and I fold forward, if I'm not very on, you'll see how far I have to go in order to kind of generate the torque. If I really shove my knees out, like at the bottom of a squat like I'm supposed to, and then roll forward, that's the end range. The difference between this little bit of softness is here, and really externally rotated is here, which means I can keep a much tighter, more upright position. As Berg says, the further you can shove the knees out, the more you can set the back, which gives me a lot of movement options, especially when I'm Olympic lifting, especially when I'm cleaning. So we can use this box squat as a cue to be able to keep the more upright torso and a more solid back position. We also find that this more externally rotated position really eliminates a lot of butt wink. So to kind of accommodate that, I want you to do a test run. I want you to sit forward, shove the kind of the knees, what you think is active knee out of our ankle, and I want you to rock forward as far as you can. And I want you to take your feet and go 30 degrees, and I want you to say, keep that same position and rock further forward. What's happened is you've really lost a lot of potential torque in that position, and the equivalent position for me to be externally rotated is this far out, which is almost an impossible position, and ends up looking with an overextended back is how I end up creating that tension in the back again. But if I don't violate the two-hand rule, I got to keep the feet straight, I rock forward. If I really shove out, bam, there's that bottom position. No matter what my foot position is, I still have to look for that external rotation. So to compensate for that, or to kind of generate good positioning, today we're going to just hang out, shove the knees out, and we're going to contract, relax here for 2 minutes. Tight, 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 and then hang out. And you're going to feel horrible tearing. The piece is I want you to really be conscious of practicing neutral spine. That's the position. Don't violate the two-hand rule. If I tip forward, there's none of this silliness going on. So fold forward, hang out, release, come forward and hang out, and let's keep going with that. Let's see what happens. I think you're going to find that it tears up the groin bits a little bit. That's homework number one. 2 minutes. Homework number two, our classic unimpingement stretch. I'm going to get some big lateral distraction on this joint here. So I'm going to wind that joint up. The band pulls me laterally, kick the leg across, and I'm going to start by just pressing into the corner. Remember, the line of force goes through the femur, drive that into the ground, try to shove that femur out your butt in as many different places as you can. Push into deep flexion, load, push up into high, relative extension, but keep exploring in those positions. Grinding back and forth, really open up. When you find a tight range, go ahead and hang out there, okay? So 2 minutes each leg in that position. Oh! Then, the nasty. You've seen it, the single rib mode. Put that ball somewhere in the kind of meat of your traps here. I want you to lift your butt up and drive into that ball. And so now I'm kind of getting a caudal glide, which is towards my foot. And I'm gliding it in, and I'm just going to go ahead and keep the arm really straight and try to press through that thing and try to get to the ground. So press right up by the ear, get to the ground, and most of you guys are going to stop right here. I've loaded the ball, I've got my butt up off the ground, and I'm going to try to press up and over that. Kind of make as much time as you can, try to get 2 minutes of dinking around. Find the next rib section, press up, try to keep the arm right by the ear. You'll notice that even though I want to black out and vomit, make the Mr. Yuck face, I'm not going to do it. Right, so I'm just unconnecting my pain face from my shoulder because those things are related, and then hang out here. You can even sweep out a little bit and see if you can find a painful range, but likely you're most limited here, okay? So that's homework number one. The new piece today is we're going to work on inter-rotation. Remember, mobilize the position restriction. Hand goes behind the back, and I'm going to stick the ball between the kind of the lower scapular border and my spine. So I'm going to be hanging out in internal rotation, but instead I'm going to go ahead and hang out and try to get some movement into those ribs. And I'm just going to lift my butt up, grinding back and forth, internal rotating, working on trying to capture the space between my scapula and the spine. And I can hit the soft tissue in there. It's ugly. And I literally am trying to stab myself in the back. But what I find in my clinical practice is that most of the athletes who are having missing interrotation also are having spinal or thoracic kind of mobility problems underneath that rib cage. So kind of get up underneath there, and because I'm so far internally rotated, the scapula kind of flies up and I can really hammer some of those tissues in the back. I lost my ball. So in this position, hand behind the back, we're really going to go with these areas here and then a little bit lower between the spine of the scapula and the spine. 4 horrors, 2 brand new ones. Good luck. We'll see you guys tomorrow.